Coming up on today's show, we have the superstar captain from St Kilda, Cal Wilkie, fresh off a 100-point win.
We've got all of that. We've got the D minuses. There's a few of them getting around. Plus, you've parked the horse out the front. It's eating some chaff at the minute. It's got a little bit of molasses on its gob. And you're going to serve a warrant with your cowboy hat on. Look out.
And we also wrap up Pendles for that historic performance on the weekend and compare him to the likes of LeBron James.
Ooh.
Hello and welcome to the Aces Review Show. I'm joined by the best caller in the business, Mr. Dale Thomas. And thanks to PointsBet and Statmate for powering our show. Now, it was a massive weekend, Daisy.
Yes, it was. Well, good to see you again.
Now, I really need you to start with a big Monday ace because there was plenty of outstanding performances on the weekend, but we'll throw straight to the footy.
Yeah.
Who's your ace?
My Monday ace, is actually the elastic around the biceps on your T-shirt there. What an incredible job that's doing, just containing 22-inch pythons.
Thank you, mate. Well, I pump you up. You pump me up. I scratch yours, scratch mine. I don't mind it.
And a new sponsor to the show too in Droneland.
Wow. It took me 7 weeks.
Yes.
So, I wanted to wear it every week, but from now on, you'll see a fair bit more of Droneland. They're doing their bit, for the Aces Review Show and the preview show.
They are, absolutely. My ace for the weekend, there's actually a couple, but I'm going to start off with the Brisbane Lions players. Obviously, they had a very good win against Adelaide, but the care and love that they showed, including some coaches and coaching staff as well, to our good mate in Geordie Dawson. Good to see him back playing football after what's been a horrible fortnight for him, and just some genuine care, some proper hugs. That's what football and life is all about, mateship and genuine care for people. So the Brisbane Lions can be my first ace, but what do you like?
Yeah, I like it, mate. I love that. And hats off to that footy club and to Fags as well, because I saw some great vision. Yeah. But I'm going to an individual player, and this could be one of I reckon the most exciting player to watch at the minute, and that's Cozzy Pickett. He's got his 29 touches, 27 kicks, 2 handballs, 4 goals.
27 kicks?
27 kicks.
Ridiculous.
Which is a lot of times kicking the pill. But one of the biggest highlights out of that game was that mark. Now, I'm not sure you're going to see a better mark this year than the one that he took on the weekend.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. That is exciting to see. I think we've all been wanting to see Cozzy through the midfield, and well done again. We pump up Stephen King a fair bit on this. But he actually went back to Darwin during the week, Cozzy. Obviously some family stuff, and that's massive for him to get back and be a part of it and then come fly in and dominate. My second ace for the week is the St Kilda Footy Club. I sat here last week and I was having a few laughs through the review show about Ross Lyon and the wins and losses not being important, and him saying the wins and losses aren't reflective of how well we're going. Oh, wasn't he correct? 100-point victory for the Saners. Their first time in 11 years they've notched up a win by that margin or more. So well done to them. It's been a massive off-season. They've demanded relevance, and when you do that, you have to deliver. And finally, it's not the biggest scalp, I grant you that, but it is a big one regardless.
Well, Daisy,
yes.
Speaking of St Kilda,
tell me
we have the skipper, one of the prime movers in the competition, Cal Wilkie, joining us. So welcome, Cal.
Prime mover. I'm not sure about that.
You are a prime mover, mate. Look at you, mate. You're averaging 26 touches, 12 marks. You're blowing up the stat sheet.
It's not pretty, though. It's not good to watch.
Nah.
But I like
it is prime moving. 25 disposals yesterday, 16 marks, 12 intercepts, a couple of score involvements. Yeah. And the most impressive thing, how many times did you go to the bench, you reckon?
100%.
100% game time.
Oh, look at him.
The boy doesn't leave bloody the ground.
Now, before we let him speak, because
we'll just chat about
what about the wobble?
You just watch on this as well and I talk to each other.
The wobble, 100-point win. Does that feel good on a Monday morning?
Doesn't it just? First one, I've definitely been a part of it at Saints. I think it's the first one in a decade for the footy club. So it was nice to actually put a team away. So it was good fun.
And you got there, well, I guess in the end, really comfortably, but it was sort of an arm wrestle-ish for a quarter and a bit. What was it? What was the turning point? What was your focuses going in, knowing that you probably could break their backs at some point?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we started games really well, and we sort of did that again without putting on the scoreboard too much in that first quarter. And then coming out of after half time, we've been really poor in the third quarters. We haven't won one yet. So that's been a big talking point over the last week or so, just being able to start better in the third quarters. And I think they kicked the first sort of 2 or 3 goals in that third quarter. And I thought, oh, crap, here they go again. But we were able to, I guess, wrestle momentum back and score really efficiently. I think they still dominated inside 50s in that third quarter, but I think we kicked 7 goals from 10 inside 50. So kudos to the forwards for actually doing it.
And you're sitting at, the 3 wins and 4 losses. So you're travelling okay, but what's the chat like within the 4 walls? I know Ross came out and said that we're probably playing better than the win and loss column, but what's the chat like and where do you feel like you're sitting at the minute?
Yeah, well, you two know, like, you try and stay as level as possible within footy clubs. Everyone in the media wants to, it's a win-loss industry. We lost a couple of games early to start the year by, a goal or 2 goals, and you sort of just got to stay level and focus on what you did well and what you need to improve on. And we felt like we're sort of taking those learnings, and we played pretty well against Adelaide and last week, but they just dominated us in that second and third quarter, and we weren't able to get over the line. So ability to wrestle momentum within games has been an issue. We haven't been able to put 4 quarters together, and it was nice to actually do that yesterday.
You guys are obviously massive talking point over the pre-season. Sign Nass on big cash. TDK comes in. My good mate and Jack Silvani there to steady up that back line with you. Have you noticed a shift in, I don't know if relevance is the right word, but more so attention from everyone, the media, the general football public, because you have sort of put yourself so much out there?
Yeah, well, definitely. It's sort of, hard to notice. You try and block out the media a lot as a player, but it's everywhere you look, TV, your phones, social media. We want to be relevant. You want people talking about you, and we want to be up there and be a successful club. So, yeah, we obviously brought in, 4 quality players who have added a lot so far, and, it's not a finished product by any means, and still got a lot of things we need to improve on, but we've shown some signs, and it was nice to, I guess, get the result yesterday, but there's still so much more to improve on.
Jack Silvani, obviously down in the back line with you. How have you enjoyed playing with him? Obviously teammate and down back from time to time. Very smart football IQ.
Yeah, he is. I feel like we see the game very similar, so he's been awesome. Very seamless addition. It was nice. Yesterday he took Waterman, allowed me to sort of free up a bit, so I feel like that's what he's going to be able to do. Hopefully he can just lock down all the key forwards and I can just be freed up and run around.
Yes.
He's been great. I've loved playing with him, and he sort of demands excellence on everyone around him, which is great.
The 2-parter here, you're speaking about your own game, but obviously you're an All-Australian, you've played at some great heights. What's an edge that you're trying to sort of bring into this season? Have you tried to work on something in the off-season, or you're working with your coaches just to elevate your game a little bit more? And how is that sort of linking in with your leadership style, obviously being the skipper of the club? What are you trying to hone in on?
Leadership's probably the big one. I think focuses in the off-season for me is every year just trying to get a little bit better in terms of, for me, is probably my fitness and my strength. I'm not the biggest guy out in the field, so I rely a lot on my smarts of being able to read the play. So if I can just get a bit fitter, be able to get to more contest, being able to sort of get myself in positions to intercept probably more, it's going to help me and it's going to help the team. So that's probably been just keep gradually improving year on year. And then leadership's probably been the big one, knowing Steely was gone, there was probably going to be a vacancy in the leadership and the captaincy, and just being able to sort of drive the standards a bit more, and knowing we've got a bit more capability with the players that we've brought in, the younger guys driving that as well, and just trying to really accelerate that as quickly as possible.
Do you ever watch Ross Lyon's press conferences?
I don't, but there's a few boys that do it religiously because they know how funny it is. But I know he causes a little bit of stir every now and then.
When you guys have your meetings, or if anyone's having a bit of a laugh with him, is he as good as deflecting in real life in the moment as he is at these press conferences? Because he can talk for 5 minutes, have a journalist absolutely tied up in knots and still not have answered their question. And in the end, they just go, okay, I submit, tap out, you're done.
Pretty much. Speaks in riddles. You got to get Dan Butler on the show. Back of his notepad, we sit next to each other and he writes every little weird saying that he's got.
That's great.
Probably shouldn't put that out in the public, but he's got it on his phone now. So I think last week we had a few beers after the game and sort of read them out. Pretty funny.
That's what, mate. That's the best thing about footy clubs. You can't get away with anything, whether you're the coach or not.
No, or not. Now, you've got a big month coming up. Like we said, you're at the 3 and 4 win-loss. You got Carlton, Gold Coast, Richmond, Freo, all probably winnable games from this standpoint. How much further are you looking ahead? Because obviously Carlton aren't going that flash and Gold Coast aren't either. And then you got Richmond. So at the end of this month of footy, you could be right back up, at the sort of the top end of the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, big month of footy like it always is. It's hard to always look past the next game because you just got to focus on that. As the cliche always is, it's week to week. But as soon as you look past the next week, anything can happen in this league. Anyone can beat anyone, and if you're not on your game for that day, a team can just easily run over the top of you. So Carlton have played some pretty good footy, and obviously the win-loss doesn't actually say that. So, we've got to prepare. They're going to come out there for their best, and we've got to prepare like that.
What about for Saints fans who are starting to get excited and you look at what could potentially be coming in? I don't know if it's this week or next week, but Max King, how did he go, VFL? Have you spoken to him? Great to see him back playing footy.
Yeah, so good to see him back. I think his last game was almost 2 years ago in 2024. So no one sort of works harder. No one's had a better attitude that I've seen with, so many injuries and missed so many games. So thrilled to have the big fella back playing footy. He only played a half yesterday. So I'm not sure what the sort of protocol will be and what the coaches want to see in terms of how many more minutes they need of him playing game time before he comes back in. But yeah, as well with him, we got a few more other players that came back. So the list is looking quite healthy, but obviously everyone wants to see the big fella back in the team and back up and running. So it's awesome for Saints fans. It's awesome for us players, for the footy club that, he's back playing footy.
Have you seen him or got an update? He got through unscathed? Has he pulled up all right?
He got through unscathed, all good. So I think I haven't checked in today, but hopefully he's just pulled up all right. And it's very exciting.
Now we're going to pivot away from footy a little bit here. Anything big happening in your life? Daisy, we're actually speaking off air that one of the longest engagements in the history. I hear you're getting wedded at the end of the year.
Yeah, I am. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've only been engaged for just over 12 months. So Daisy obviously likes to go early on that. But,
wow, it was a long lead up.
It was a long lead up.
What? He's one of our favourites.
It is.
And every time we come on, we asked him.
It was our 13 years anniversary last week. So I guess
it was the pre-proposal that was a long bit. I knew there was something in there, Wallace.
Yeah, no, the pressure was coming. It was mounting from all areas. Everyone was dropping like flies. So, we're still young. So, I'm not. I just turned 30. So, it's starting to get old.
Have you picked a location yet?
Yeah, getting married at the end of the year in Adelaide, back in our hometown. So, just before Christmas. So, a good amount of friends and family to carry on for a few days and have a good celebration.
And I know you love your Triple M, you love your Rush Hour, but also I've seen a couple of likes coming up on the Aces AFL pods for when Nobby does his work. You're watching along. Have you got any feedback for the great man?
Yeah, well, I've sort of lost interest the last couple of weeks. He came out of the blocks really strong, and he's sort of losing me a little bit. So Nobby needs to pick it up because he's losing me.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to play that when he comes on and does his call.
No,
really, just
I'm going to get ripped now in the race call, but I'm willing to cop that.
We're very happy with it. But mate, we are very grateful to have you on. Obviously, congratulations again for yesterday's win, and all the best for the next round and for the rest of the season. But you're a true friend of the show, so thanks for your time and enjoy your afternoon, your day off.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Wallace.
Geez, he's a polished performer, isn't he?
We love Cal.
We love Cal.
And that is good to hear. Jack Silvani locking away so he can be more intercept defender. So I'm not sure where I am.
A bit. Nearly 27 touches as a defender.
Yeah, I'm just having a look here. I'm not sure where I'm at in my Statmate treasure hunt, but we didn't have him in there for 25 or more. So maybe there's one to keep an eye on for the old Prophet propeller.
That is watching. As we look into what's brewing thanks to Inglewood Coffee, it wasn't the only blowout margin that we saw the St Kilda Footy Club, because the first tab on the agenda today is the average winning margin over the 9 games over the weekend, 50 points.
Yeah, and I actually sent a couple of texts off to a couple of statisticians trying to figure out if that's a massive irregularity, I think is the word, or the one that I tried to say there. Yep. Because I can't recall, obviously the 100-point margin inflates it a little bit, but there's 2 games that were 7 and 14 points. The rest of them absolute shellackings.
Blowouts.
It just, again, goes to show how competitive the league is to some extent, being all bar probably the Tigs and West Coast at the minute. But if you're a little bit off, you run the risk of getting absolutely pantsed. And it doesn't matter if you turn the tables. Port Adelaide take on Geelong. That was a smashing. Geelong were poor after being so good last week. So I don't know what to read into it. It's just not great for footy because a lot of the time you're turning off at halftime. You've got a thought.
Yeah, no, I'd love you to text the people at the stats one day, because if you talk about the variation in fixturing, you know, the 6-day breaks, the 5-day breaks, the longer breaks, whether that's playing a role in some of these blowouts. Now, there'll be a trend that'll be created.
Sit down at a coffee shop here and get old pen and paper out again.
I was going to say, but there has to
look
be
like one of those fugitive manhunts at will. There's over here.
The dot points, the graphs, all kinds of things going everywhere. Now, because it'd be interesting, because there'd be a number of factors that would go into this, travel being one of them as well. But to have 9 games and the average was 50 points, like that's not normal. And you're talking about irregularities. That feels like one.
And especially when you sit down, you're like, Swans and Dogs. Dogs are undermanned, but they should give a yelp. Wasn't the case. Gold Coast Suns, I was massive on. I thought this was a chance to make a statement. Slapped. The Pies, take on the Bombers, who'd been better. Slapped. And then, of course, St Kilda. And also the Lions. That was another one. I tipped Adelaide as an upset.
Yeah.
Really, boy.
Good though.
Absolutely slapped. The ARC has been a massive talking point, always continues to be. Not only have we seen some horrible, I think, did you serve them up last week when you didn't know if...
for the ARC. Yeah, that was my warrant.
And rightfully so. Somehow they didn't listen and they've gotten worse.
They've gotten worse. So at minute 30 in the play was pulled back. So I think that the more that we look into certain circumstances where there's a line ball decision and it's going to make an influence over the outcome of the game, we need science to prove. But I just think you can't be affecting the game and the visual aspects of the game when you're watching at home as a viewer.
So it was St Kilda, and obviously the result was going to be inevitable anyway in that game. But what happens within that minute and a half if it goes up the other end for a goal? That gets taken back. So momentum in footy is huge.
It's just too drastic.
Should there be a shot clock on how quickly the ARC?
That's the remedy right there. And whether it's 15 to 20 seconds, you've heard it here first on Monday review show. There needs to be a time clock.
Can that be a coach's challenge too?
Now you're getting layers. Yeah. I'm going to talk a little bit about interpretations in the back half of the episode.
But so if you're sitting in the coach's box and you've got one assistant dedicated to it, you get one challenge and the players nobody knows except the ARC. You get the little bang, check it. Yep, you're correct. It was a mark or it was touch, whatever it was.
The only prerequisite for that would have to be 15 seconds. It can't be any more, because if they've hit it at 20 seconds and then it takes a couple and then the delay of that, you talk about a minute 30. Well, it could blow out significantly. So I don't mind it. I just can't have, like you said, if there's a game and momentum and they're transitioning all the way down the other end and they've kicked a goal and then like you just turned on the TV and it's just like, hold on, we have to press rewind. It's too clunky for mine.
And we saw there was another one last night, the GWS North Melbourne game, a touch ball that wasn't like, surely with how technology is in the modern day, when you can have a photo finish in a horse race that horses going near on 70 k's an hour down to a millimetre, but we cannot figure out if somebody has touched a ball, if it's over a point. We've talked about sensors in the football for so freaking long, and apparently we haven't got it right.
And we should have a checkbook when it comes down to scores, win and losses, and the influence a goal or a point or a wrong decision can have on the outcome of a game. It is disappointing, and there's so many question marks to raise over why they haven't made it better, or whether come season.
Well, you'd imagine it is purely wanting to invest with cash.
Yes,
like the technology would be there in some way, shape, or form. It's just how much cash you're prepared to give to it to make it happen. And I think at the answer at the minute is, the AFL is sort of happy enough with it.
And this is another thought that obviously, the prime or the bigger stadiums, we call the MCG, Marvel, would have access to those cameras. If we go and play at some of the other ovals that don't have the infrastructure, whether the variation in access to cameras and footage plays its role in terms of equality and across the comp. Could that be a factor?
It could be something. And I think you could probably cop the fact that if you're playing at a Manuka, you probably only get the best that is available for that, because, if it's costing exorbitant amounts of money, there's no reason to do it when you've got 3 games there. And that's just simple. Yep. But outside of that, something needs to be done. I don't have the answers, but there's a bit of food for thought.
It's funny, we're going to be bringing it up every week, it feels like.
That and the tribunal continue to be the 2 things that the AFL get wrong and don't ever get fixed.
Yes, no, I agree. Now let's talk something positive. Now, he didn't get our Monday ace, but he probably will get an Ausmerican ace.
Yes.
And that's your former teammate, Scuttle Pendlebury.
Who?
Your former teammate, Scuttle Embleberry. No, Scott Pendlebury now, his 4th Anzac Day medal.
His take.
And look, let's go through his accolades. Like 5 BNFs, 5 All-Australians, a premiership, Norm Smith medal. He's 38 years old and he was still dishing up that kind of performance.
Yeah, it is incredible. And watching along and just watching the way he goes about it, the way he's used, I think it's probably a blessing in disguise that he's never had great pace. When you're a player that's got speed and something gets taken away from you, it's hard then to change your game.
Yeah.
He hasn't had to, like, he hasn't lost a yard, he hasn't gained a yard, he just never had that yard.
Yep.
So he's always been smart of mind, obviously, the way he buys himself time and space, skill set and ability to use the ball, incredible. But the level he plays at, and he's continuing to play into 38 years old, the mental resolve that takes to get up every week, to make sure your body's in the right frame of mind, your mind's in the right frame of mind, it is honestly remarkable. Yep. And whatever he's doing, please continue to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if he played on.
Yeah.
And you'd be stupid to wrap him up, but I know that you love your basketball, and we've been watching, GOAT comparisons.
So age is just a number, and we're talking of LeBron and those NBA followers out there.
LeBron playing with his child in the NBA playoffs,
phenomenal. And talk about stats from his game.
Actually,
yeah, I should actually bring that up. But yeah, so LeBron being 41 years old. Season 23, and he's put up these numbers in Game 3 of that series: 29 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists with 3 steals, and some really clutch plays. Obviously, hit a 3 to tie the game to send it into overtime. But there's no Luka Doncic for those followers, and there's no Austin Reeves. So he's now taken that main role, which he's obviously been suited for so many years. But they're winding back the clock, the boys, aren't they?
Imagine throwing an alley-oop to your son in a playoff game.
Yeah.
And then putting on a 4-man block like this so he can shoot a 3.
The funniest bit, the vision afterwards, after he threw that, LeBron saw stars, and then he said, "Bronny, get back!" And LeBron's trying to push him and put him in the spot. But just aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky to be alive in an age where we see players like Scotty Pendlebury and LeBron who are just dominating their field after so many years? And
hopefully this is a real pivot point for the competition as well. And the Pies have done it well. Craig McRae came in and said, boys, him to Pendles, to Sidebottom, to Jeremy Howe, I'm not in any way, shape or form trying to wrap you blokes up. Don't worry about your age. Worry about what you're producing on the weekend, because so many clubs, and especially ones that are down the bottom, go, geez, we probably should get rid of him because we need to get games into these young fellas. I hate that philosophy, not only because it cost me a couple of years of my career, but the fact that you start to devalue what a game of AFL football is. Good clubs, when you are right to play, you come out and you've earned your spot. You either then belong because you feel like you've actually gone and toiled away, a bit like an Archie Roberts. Spent some time in the VFL. When he gets his chance, he comes in and he's right. Or, if you're not at the level, you're going to have to go back, work on your craft. Then when you come back in, you stay as part of the team and you actually earn your games.
The word culture, I don't know, it's thrown around and everything. Everyone loves to say what is the best culture, but that is a good culture, isn't it? When you play and when you deserve to play.
I'll give you this from the weekend. So of the 2 sides named that in the Collingwood-Essendon game.
Exactly,
Yeah, Collingwood had 8 of the oldest. Essendon had 9 of the 10 youngest. And the result tells us that experience and not going to absolute water under pressure became a critical part of it.
Righto, on the other side of this, we're going to throw to a break. We talked of some of the highs of the highs. We had a pretty low point in our profit per pallet betting. So stay tuned and we'll touch on that after this.
Oh, turn it up.
Got a leg in your same-game multi that's lacking heat? Try out PointsBet's new Pull 'em feature, which lets you remove a leg from your multi before the start of the third quarter. Only available on PointsBet.
What are you really gambling with?
Welcome back to the Aces Review Show. Still plenty more to come. Walls Warrant not too far away. But as always, we need to debrief about our own performances over the weekend, not just that of the clubs and the players. And the profit propeller, he looked like a sit and steer job. There was green ticks everywhere.
And coming with a flurry too. We didn't have to sit and wait.
Well, we knocked them over within one game.
Yes.
That was nice to know. And then we had to wait for the Freo game. Josh Tracy kicks 3 before half time. Yeah.
It was just after the first quarter, wasn't he, on 3?
then.
And our boy Nicky Newman.
Well, our boy Tommy Sheridan.
I shouldn't say.
yes.
Yeah, shouldn't say that. Yeah, just unfortunate. And 16 at half time. So you and I on dad duties, we signed off for the evening.
Well, I watched the first 7 minutes, I think it was, of Q3. He had another couple and went. I literally put it in the text and said, "Boys, congratulations, this one's over. It's in the books." Rolled over because I was gassed from a couple of big nights of calling the footy and Anzac Day. Rolled over for a piss. I think it was about 1:30.
Yep.
Checked. 22. We needed him for 22 and a half.
Well, I rolled over and I saw 15 unread messages and I'm going, this is either really good or really, really, really bad. And unfortunately, one shy. One shy.
It hurts.
It does hurt.
It really hurt. And Tommy, he takes this, we all take it hard, but he's had a bad run. Obviously, Essendon, he lost a bet there with me on the weekend. So now he has to do his whole week of shows as a clown or the Joker.
Proper clown too.
Sufa's part of that too, but oh my goodness.
But it's one of those ones where you go, we reload, we relaunch, we got another opportunity next week. But this one just burns a bit because it was close to a sure thing as you could get.
Yeah, and well, if like the cash out value would have nearly been
9-ish?
Yeah, or very, very close because it was almost a certainty. And obviously there are no certainties in punting. But the Kahuna boys, they were texting me, the man that did the promo up there. He was like, oh, my God, this hurts. What is going on? Our town is torn in half, I think was the word. So
well, anyway, for those listeners of the show, make sure you tune in to the Thursday show because we're going to get some awesome footage of Tommy. He'll be sad, but he was hot on the Instagram on the photos and on the stories. Like we said, he wears it quite hard.
So he's got a punishment from a stupid bet with me. Yep. He's still got $7,000 worth of travel up to the Gold Coast on the line if the Pies finish higher than North Melbourne, which North unfortunately lost on the weekend. The Pies get a win, and now he has to. And did he say he'd do every show? Because I had to do every show in a Bomber's top for this week's bet.
I think
he's only doing Thursday. Okay,
right.
Slightly disappointing. But
I hope you're, we spoke
to the Kahuna boys. Well done.
Sorry.
And on behalf of Tommy, we're sorry.
And we're speaking about taking notes in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
We got to start taking notes of these bets, though. I know there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot in the ether that Tom brings. And, it's great. It's a great angle. But
he wanted Newman for 26. He wanted 26 or more, didn't he?
I know. We just pulled him back in. But anyway, that's enough. Like you said, I mentioned off the top of the show, we're going to reload and relaunch into the next profit propeller. But I think it's time for the flip side. Now, we spoke about the weekend's games. How good was the win? How bad was the loss? And we've thrown up the ladder.
I'll go with this. So usually you're sitting there, we're nearly a third of the way through the season, and you could say who's in the 8, who's just outside, top 6 or whatever you want to do it. But Melbourne sitting in 4th, North Melbourne still sitting inside the top 6 at this point of the year. I don't know if we're paying enough attention to it or, as we've sort of touched on a bit, nobody really gives us stuff just yet because of the imbalance of the fixturing so far. But there you go. So if you're the Crows or below, unlucky, we're not talking about you. But upside of that, there's your ladder. Well, incredible stuff.
We're talking about how bad the loss was. So we've got Gold Coast now who have dropped out of the top 6, call it. And then you got the Bulldogs who have dropped out of the top 9 and are 10th. They're two teams that were sitting at the top of the ladder come the first month of footy. Where are they at, do you reckon? Are they just – now we're going to go into Gold Coast in detail in a minute.
Well, the Gold Coast – and probably in this point we can touch on how good the actual Hawks were because, the margin there, a demolition job, obviously Jack Gunston again in some career best form. But the Hawks are ticking along just beautifully. And the Gold Coast Suns, we will get to them as part of our overreach or a Monday real reach, I should say. But I'm not sure where they're at. The Hawks are flying. So that one for me was more the scale. That was more about the win as much as it was about the loss. Port Adelaide.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Is that phenomenal from them? Because they showed a bit the week before against the Hawks.
I just think that the opponent and Geelong coming off such a clinical performance against the Bulldogs, but they didn't have a yelp. And you talk about some of their stars. Obviously, I had the Horny one as my profit propeller bet, but he's just taken his game to a new level. We had Zach Butters getting his 30. Obviously, the tag didn't work there. Mitch Georgiades playing well. I think they're just clicking, and it's such an interesting watch, Port, over the next, call it 18 months with how their lists, shapes out and changes. But if they can keep fronting up like that and playing against good quality sides like Geelong, then he'll be thereabouts in the next, short-term future.
Sets up beautifully for a showdown this weekend.
Oh, doesn't it what?
Because the Crows are the next game we look at, and they were poor. Do I have a sort of, upon reflection, and I give them an out because it's been a massive couple of weeks for the footy club?
I think that's just a hold for a second. And I might have mentioned it on the preview show about how big that game was, but they've been through a lot. And I think Brisbane came with a real intensity and to notch up nearly a 60-point win against the Adelaide Crow side, who are now, we talk about the ladder, they're 13th. They're out of reaching distance.
Very rarely put a couple of bad ones back to back the lines, which
don't.
is why they are such a good footy club.
I'm still hot on them to take out the flag. Yeah. I haven't shifted at all, really.
And when sort of looking at it in this lens, so a third of the season through, I think that is a good way to sort of position as to, okay, where is your side now? And if they are to be going and contending deep, you look at the side sort of 7th through 12, it's going to be a big month for these sides to actually start to make a move, because you can fall too far behind the 8 ball and then you are purely just playing out almost for that wild card spot, or you're going to try and really contend and be a top 4 side. So we're going to, in this next month, learn a lot more about these sides.
Now, the last one, if we focus our attention on Anzac Day, like we gave Essendon their plaudits in the last couple of weeks for their application. Obviously, they notched up a win after
deserved it.
Yeah, after a pretty poor start to the year, but it just feels like 2 steps forward and they've taken 3 back.
Yeah, and to be honest, it was lucky they were sort of in the game at halftime. The Pies kicked 1 goal 6 in the second quarter, but then to kick 15 goals 11 in the second half. So 101 points in that second half of football when they hadn't kicked 100 points since round 17 last year. They're averaging 72.7 points in totality, the Pies this year, which is their lowest on record for 6 years. And they're only averaging 17.5 points from clearest, which was their lowest ever recorded in a 6-game period to start a season. They then went out and kicked 5 goals from that area. This was a shellacking like you've never seen. And this one stings more, because if you're a Sunday afternoon and you're wedged away at Marvel Stadium, you can sort of move away. If you're West Coast, cool. It's 100 points. We talk about the Saints, off and gone. See you later. Have fun next week. When it is the match of the year outside of finals football, there's nowhere to hide. And unfortunately, the 2 weeks before, and was it sort of a false economy to some degree, the Gold Coast Suns still had 34 scoring shots, 17 goals, 17 they kick. I don't know. I think obviously the reach or overreaction was big in this one, but the Bombers poor.
And they're last by a long way for defensive one-on-one wins.
Yeah.
And that's a glaring stat that, again, you talk about getting scored against.
And I think they're last for offensive one-on-one wins too.
Well, there you go. So one-on-one, we'll call it one-on-one in general.
Yeah.
But last for tackles inside 50. So the pressure element of the game, and when the gas gets turned up, like an Anzac Day game, and these numbers, you can't hide these numbers. And it's frustrating. It's going to be a long year for Essendon supporters, and it's been a long couple of decades for them. Yeah. But some of these key statistics, it's too long to turn around within a week. So it's back to the drawing board a little bit.
You can't bring any sort of game plan if you don't have pressure or skill execution.
No.
And they unfortunately didn't bring any of those.
I tend to agree. Now, the other one, we'll just touch on the Collingwood Footy Club for a minute, though. They're 4 wins. They're sitting 8th. Are they going better than you envisaged, or are they just about
5th to 10th? I had them at the start of the year, and sort of seeing results like this, I think they're going to beat up on sides that are purely offense-based because they are so good defensively, and it feels like they might have just got their offense going themselves.
That's what I was saying, scoring. It was scoring, and now they've kicked over 100 points.
But I still think when you look at it, probably the Lions, Hawthorn, Freo, that game was pretty dour, and Freo can't put you away. Teams that can score quickly, I think they're going to continue to struggle against, as we've seen when they came up against the Brisbane Lions with no Nick Dacos only a few weeks ago.
Very, very good. Righto, time for Real or Reach.
Please.
We love an overreaction on a Monday. So at 3 and 4, we've mentioned a lot about them today on the show. They're sitting at 12th. Are Saints the most disappointing team thus far this year?
That's a reach. This is where I had them. I guess expected them to improve because they went and recruited so heavily, but I still didn't think they were going to go from being also runs last year to a dominant side. So I think that's a reach.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. They've got a big month. Let's sort of revisit that. If they're sitting around the 7 and 5 after the next month, well, I reckon that's definitely a reach. But the next one.
No, I'll go to you with Fremantle.
Okay,
Fremantle's lack of scoreboard impact will cost them a true premiership tilt. Lowest points for a side inside the top 6.
I think it will. I think that's a real for mine. They need to find another avenue for goal. They get the ball enough, and it's inside their their front half enough. They just need to be able to kick a score. And I think they've kicked a lot of points over the journey in the past
They
bit.
don't bury sides.
They do not bury. They don't know how to put away sides.
Yeah.
And even on the weekend, it was there or thereabouts where they should have been, I reckon, foot to the throat kind of stuff. So it's a watch on this one. I reckon it's a real. Hopefully it doesn't, because they've been touted again of being a top 4 side for a number of years now. And it's no surprise for punters like us that they're not kicking winning scores, because the history suggests that they can't. But how do you change that? I'm not sure. Scotty Pendlebury, just a quick one. Plays on next year. You did mention it.
Why not, if he wants to?
Yeah. That's real for mine. Before we get to your Gold Coast Suns, so the ceiling has risen with 2 wins for West Coast. Obviously, a lot of people touting them, when are their wins going to come? But then the floor has fallen after a performance on the weekend. They are easy beats still, aren't they?
Yeah, it's probably easy beats is probably a touch harsh in the sense that when they bring, and as a side with what they have, unfortunately, from a profile, age demographic, and where they've been, they have to bring maximum effort every week as a minimum, and to execute all their skills almost perfectly as a minimum to get themselves in a chance to be competitive, then to set up a win for a game. Yeah. When they don't bring that and they're a little bit off, they can be smacked. And I don't think it's going to, we'll see it with Richmond as well. These young sides, it is so tough to produce it week in, week out with younger bodies, sore bodies. As we said, the fixturing hasn't been great. When you're flying from one side of the country to the other to play some footy, it won't be the last time we see the West Coast get flogged. I hope it's the last time we see them get to the tune of 100 points.
The 2 Fs, fundamentals and foundation. You talk about some of the things a side that is trying to establish themselves need to get right. If that's not there and the foundation's not there, it just crumbles.
Correct.
And there's no give at all. So interesting watch, but like you said, they're on a long journey. Joshy Tracy playing against the Dogs.
Give me the Suns, Walt. Give me the Suns. I don't want Josh Tracy. I'll give this to you then, because I don't give a stuff about Josh Tracy. Josh Tracy's over this Friday against the Dogs. Should be 25 goals.
Reach. Righto, let's get to your Suns.
Good.
Now, I know you've done a fair bit of deep diving, but a comment off the top here. Are they too top heavy? Are they lacking those honest role players, those people that can fill the gaps? What's going on at Gold Coast? Is it real or reach that they're too top heavy?
It's real that their talent is what they have an abundance of. And when you have talent, your offense generally takes care of itself. When you have dour players, when you have players a bit like Collingwood, defense becomes a mindset and a shift because they don't have the class to just do whatever they want and make it up on the spot. So right now, I would say that the Gold Coast Suns defensively are not buying into it purely on the fact that talent alone is what they've known. Defense is what they have to learn, because if they want to be competitive and they want to get to where we all think they should, and I've been driving this bus as hard as anyone, I love everything that they've been doing that's been set up for a premiership. They've draft picks, everything is in order. They just need to now sort it out, because Touk Miller said the other week they're not playing their best footy. I don't know if they can almost cop that yet. I don't know if they're in a position where they can take the
liberty of saying that. Yeah.
But also to the fact that maybe believe it, that, we'll just click at some point. Defensively, they need to be a lot better. We saw that giving up 110 points to Essendon after what they produced on the weekend is partially insipid. And this becomes the next month of football. We will know by the mid-season bye whether the Gold Coast Suns are going to be a real deal, or you can actually scrap a line through them and put them as also runs. They've got GWS at home.
Should
win. And again, yeah.
But see, should win. There's still that apprehension. Isn't it? There shouldn't be an apprehension if we're talking about the Gold Coast Suns that you've promised.
St Kilda in Darwin should win. They don't lose in Darwin. Port in Darwin
should win. Yep.
North Melbourne at Marvel.
So they've got a month.
Because if you're not banking 4 wins there into the bye, you come out after it and you've got Brisbane, Geelong, Hawthorn and Freo. Geelong at GMHBA, Freo away.
Yeah, so
if you're not banking your next 4 wins and you're sitting outside of it at the minute, it is going to be bloody tough from there on. So they are the biggest watch for me over the next month. If they drop 1 of those games or 2 of those games, that could be the reason we're looking back in September going, where are the Suns?
The coaches will be really aware of that, won't they? As in that whole footy club would be aware of what the next month means. And then off the back of that, if they can get some momentum into the bye, refresh, start again, then they can start proving themselves again. But they've got a bit of room to make up.
And right now, they can have the first D- of the week too.
Is that a
bitterly,
link to the report card?
bitterly disappointed.
Bitterly disappointed. Have you got any more than
I
that?
do.
You
So
got a few, right? It's time for
Gold
Daisy
Coast
D
Suns.
minus. Let's go.
You can have one, the Gold Coast. The West Coast, if your West Coast coolers would have been better than the West Coast in the minute, they can have a D minus. But also to our mate Tommy, not so much for the propeller because, look, I think it was a nice enough leg, but to him and Suf, who put their faith in the Essendon Football Club, who looked me in the eye and told me it was an aged care facility. They're sitting there chuckling away, ha, 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 behind those stupid glasses, and Tommy's sitting there smiling away with the big fangs poking out, saying that they're going to roll Collingwood and they're getting ready to, what size jumper are you? You've got to dress up as an Essendon player. They should have dressed me up as an Essendon player to go out and play on Anzac Day because I could have produced, I wouldn't have fumbled, and I wouldn't have looked out of place. To Tommy and Suf, D minus.
Bang. Take that one between the eyes. Fantastic. Well, let's go to another break, and on the other side, we'll dive into the markets that paid the people over the weekend.
Oh, turn it up.
Got a leg in your same-game multi that's lacking heat? This AFL season, try out PointsBet's new Pull 'em feature, which lets you remove a leg from your multi before the start of the third quarter. With PointsBet, you can keep the fire alive in your same-game multis. Just pull them and adjust your bet before the start of the third quarter. See your account for personalised max stake limit. Only on PointsBet. Yeah, that's built different.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Welcome back to the Aces Review Show. It is time now to check the markets thanks to our good friends at Statmate with the Statmate treasure hunt for the markets which paid the people. And while Daisy's Disposals kicks it off because Walls Goals rhymes, but a W goes later than a D. Lockie Neal, 40 or more disposals, still getting $11. $11.50 for that. Yeah. Scotty Pendlebury, $10.50 to have 35 or more. Hugo Garcia, keep your eye on this kid. He's starting to put out some big numbers playing in the midfield as well. He's one whose possession line still hovers around 20 to 21.5, so there's value for him. Josh Lindsay and Link McCarthy. Good luck if you found them. You would have been better than me because I wouldn't have had Josh Lindsay to have 30 or more or Link McCarthy to have 20 or more. If you did, well done.
Time for Walls Goals. All right, Archer Day Wicks kicked his two for the Bombrays. That's at $16. I'm not sure.
Took a nice hanger too.
He gets plenty of opportunity. Yeah. If you convert a little bit more, he'd be kicking multiple goals on the regular. Lukey Pedler, 3 goals, $13. Charlie Curnow to kick 7, $12. That would have been a juicy market to be involved in. Brody Kemp to kick his forwards, 12, and Finn McGuinness and Rowan Steele to kick 2+ was $12.
There you go.
Yeah, so
Ronan.
Ronan.
Yeah, you know who I do like in that? Luke Pedler. Yeah. He's out a lot in that side. They've got stars everywhere, but him a little same-game multi, 1 or more at any stage. He's generally pretty sound. Hey, there's lots going on in the world of footy, but when you put this Warrant hat on and you put your cowboy hat on, this is time when the world just sits up and takes notice because no one wants to be on the end of the Warrant, but somebody is going to be. Who is it today?
It is, and we're going to look at Friday night. I'm going to put it under the microscope because the interpretation of what holding the ball is as fuzzy as it's ever been because it does look like a completely different sport at times. There's a different rule book every 5 minutes. So honestly, who has a clue anymore? Players, fans, coaches. At this point, it feels like the rule's written in pencil and every 5 minutes it's rubbed out and some other prick comes up with a new idea of what the rule is meant to be. So Tom Lynch lays a tackle, all spills out, nothing. Play on. 2 minutes later, Hugo Ralph Smith tackled, holding the ball. Bailey Fritsch goes back and kicks a goal. It's the same action, a different outcome, different rules in the same game. So there's been interpretation, there's been reinterpretation, there's been adjustments. Every option, but good luck figuring out what the interpretation actually is. And the killer is, it's not the odd one that's missed. We can all live with that. It's the guessing game that it turns into. It's the rolling the dice every time someone gets tackled, and then the whole thing starts to wobble. My 8-month-old, he was screaming at the TV. I was nearly asking for his bloody opinion on the matter.
He knows the rules.
He knows the rules, but it couldn't have been any worse because right now it's not a rule. It's a bloody mystery. So we're not asking for perfection, but we are asking for an adjudication which everyone can follow, the fans, the players, the coaches, everyone can be happy because at the moment it's a basket case. It needs to change and it needs to be fair. Bang. So the warrant has been served. Please sort it out sooner rather than later.
You have been read your rights.
I had to get that off my chest, mate. I'm not sure you were commentating the game on Friday. What's your thoughts on it all?
I was as critical as you can be of umpires without sort of labouring the point. And again, I like to think I call it as I see it, and I think I see it decently enough, and I was the same. It felt like, especially even it might have been the last quarter, that there was 4 or 5 in the first couple of minutes that were holding the pill from no attempt. Or it's tough, and we understand how tough it is, but the consistency is the point that I think we're all asking for, one way or the other.
Yeah, and when you're going in guessing what the outcome would be as a person watching on the screen at home, that's when there's a problem, because obviously if it comes down to the wire and a team gets the rub of the green over the other team because of inconsistencies, that's when it will be a problem.
Over the weekend's footy, so there's your warrant done. Have you got anything for any of the coaches or players, some feedback files? So we were first to market with Mac Andrew in the ruck. We gave some feedback file live to Isaac Kako on goal kicking. Have you got anything that you want to do, positionally move a magnet?
Not really. Because we've talked a lot about the Gold Coast Suns, and we were talking about them off air, because I know you've got a couple as well. I just think that their midfield balance, we throw Rao back in there, and it probably hasn't been as seamless as first thought. So we've got Petrarca, who is still putting together arguably one of the, a career best season, albeit missing a few games. Anderson's trying to find his form again. So I still think that they need to find that better balance. They need to obviously bring out the best in Rao, the contested beast, the finishing skills of Petrarca, then Anderson being your stay, the stayer, would you have it? And then we've got Tuke Miller, who can role play. But I just think they need to find that balance out a little bit more. Dimmer needs to ask more of his troops, because the inconsistencies over the last week have caused Gold Coast, for that little bit of a downturn. But have you got one?
Yeah, I'm looking towards the big boys. So a lot's going to be made of if they can fit Jamara, Jed Walter, Ben King and Ethan Reid into the same forward line or into the same side. Reid's playing a bit further up the ground at the minute with the wing with his running capacity. What would your thoughts be if you get a Jed Walter, super competitive, tough as nails, or a Jamara who arguably reads the game, number 1 pick, got a heap of talent? What are your thoughts on putting them to half back? So you've got Sam Collins down there, Mac Andrew, Bodie Yuland, who can play smaller. You give one of those boys the third tall or the hybrid, intercept mark, lock them away, start your defense from there. So you got Sam Collins, who can genuinely shut down the best. You got Mac Andrew that can do a bit of everything. But one of those two coming across, we've seen how easy it can be for forwards to go back, a lot harder to go the other way. I feel that there's a magnet that could be moved just to try it, because at the minute, scoring they do for fun regardless of whoever's up there, I think.
Yep.
When you've got these boys, why not try it once or twice to see if it works? Would be the ace up your sleeve.
And Rory Lobb's a good example of that in recent times that's been moved back.
Liam Jones as well.
Liam Jones is another one.
Battling forward.
The only thing is you sort of touched on it at the end there. Do you trial it, or do you give it enough go that it could be more a permanent fixture down there? Because you don't want a player who's struggling to find, a consistent sort of output, and you change him, throw him down back, it doesn't really work. Then do you throw him forward? Does he fall out of the team? And then you're sort of written off a fair portion of the season. So that's the question mark.
And sort of that's why the name of Jamara and Jed came up, because they've been sort of in and out of the side. Yep. Jed obviously with a suspension earlier in the year, but I think he's got enough mongrel in him that the back line, chance to sit the ball sit under someone and come flying through, or be good enough to mark it. Just a little bit of food for thought.
Yourself, like you said, though, being a bigger bodied forward, if he can go that back there, doesn't have to mark everything, but make a contest, make a hard day for an opposition forward. I reckon that could be a coaching masterclass from you.
Before we wrap up and you let us know what's coming up on the show, we look forward to the early markets. We get in whilst everyone else is asleep. I'm not sure how we went last week, but I assume pretty good because we're just
always
great.
good.
I've got Adelaide this week in the showdown. The line goes up at -11.5. Them to beat Port Adelaide by 2 goals. Port good on the weekend, the good last 2 weeks, but Adelaide, I think, a different gravy at home. Sydney and Melbourne, the line goes up there at 31.5. The D's not at the MCG. They've been awesome there, kicked 100+ in every one of their games, I believe. Freo, when they played them away, lost by 48 points. Sydney at the SCGs, completely different proposition, 5 or more goals, thereabouts, 31.5 should be done.
Sydney flying. We haven't mentioned a lot about Sydney, but
which is actually incredible.
No, they're sitting on top, and it's the way Dean Cox is playing. He's playing his cards well.
We'll get to them on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll get to them on Thursday and pump them up. But I'm going to the Geelong v North game. Now, that line goes up at 27.5 for $1.88 down at the Cattery.
Cats were poor against Port
They were poor, but they play good footy down there. And North, just going again. They came close.
Yeah.
Kudos for effort, but effort doesn't get you too far when you're not winning. But I'm going to the bigger mark. I'm going to the 40+. You get $2.50 for a 40+.
I like this.
So there's a bit of juice, as Tommy, our great mate Tommy would say. Get $2.50 for Geelong to beat North by more than 40 points, which I think is a chance.
We can touch back on this next Monday.
Fantastic. Well, great show, Daisy.
You
Thanks.
too, brother.
I've
Well
always enjoyed your company. But for those following the Aces program, we've got Jezza on TFG tonight. Harry Perriman did the Tommy Talks with Tommy, so that's now live. And please tune into the review show on Thursday because we've got Tommy dressing up as the Joker. He's going to be here early. He's going to get maked up. He's going to look like a clown. So thanks again for listening. Have a great week, and we look forward to listening next week.